Hi, friends. Welcome back to Notes to My Nervous System, a podcast about understanding your nervous system so you can move through hard times with a little more calm and a lot less self blame. I'm Erin, a mom, a therapist, and creator of the Mind Circuit app. It's a simple nervous system friendly tool for moments when your body needs support before your brain can catch up.
And I think a lot of times parents, when they say consequence, they think about what can I take away? And these days, the biggest thing that matters to kids oftentimes is their phone. So it's like, oh, you've done something and now taking away your phone. And, I encourage parents to really think outside of that and expand the definition. There are natural consequences of two people getting into an argument with each other. And one of those can be just, the break in relationship that can happen, or the erosion of trust that can occur between two people. So those can be just as valuable consequences as some of the, just trying to take things away from them.
We're talking about the moments every parent knows when you feel burned out, stretched thin, and your nervous system just can't bounce back. My guest, Leah Madamba, is a therapist, a parent coach who helps families find calm, connection, and joy, even in the busiest of seasons. She's here to share simple ways parents can reset and feel grounded again.
Thanks for having me, Erin. It's exciting to be here today.
What are some of the signals that a parent might want to reach out to you and get some support? What are some of the thoughts or feelings or situations coming up that, could be a clue to a parent, hey, I need to investigate this a little more?
I think, parenting is such a long journey, and there are so many different seasons of life that we go through. And in each one, there's challenges that we work on overcoming. And I think for those moments when you start to feel extra isolated and alone and looking for more guidance than you can glean from a social media scroll or maybe a podcast, you're ready to dive deep into somebody and talk about your specific situation. Those are good times to reach out and either find a certified parent coach or plug in with a therapist even and get some more support.
But that's important to recognize that when you're in a situation with a kiddo, regardless of age, you got two nervous systems going on, right? So
Absolutely.
What are some things, some tricks, some strategies you could suggest for a parent to be able to recognize when their nervous system is not regulated so they can take break? Because I know I'm guilty of not always recognizing and having to come back and apologize for putting my foot in my mouth.
Yes, these are the moments that you're looking for, or when we go into fight, flight, or freeze. And it's going to show up differently for each of us because we all have kind of our own fallback methods. For me, I can tell like my heart rate goes up. I start to get maybe really emotional. My voice, my tone, and my volume start to increase. And if I'm good, I can catch myself, right? And I can say, oh my gosh, this is not my best parenting moment, and I can step away from it. But even if you recognize that once you're already into it, that's okay. Still having the awareness to catch yourself and take a break. For some people though, for me, that's more of the fight, that desire to kind of lean into the argument, no, I got to win this one. But some of the other ways it can show up is flight, by you getting so frustrated and feeling overwhelmed that we withdraw completely from the situation. And we go out with friends and we blow off steam, and we don't always circle back and kind of make amends or follow up with our kids. So, and then that third one, freeze, can just look like being caught in the moment, deer in the headlights, and not knowing what to do, and and feeling overwhelmed in the moment. Again, those are all okay. Those are really natural reactions. The important part is, what do we do? Are there things we can do to catch ourselves on the front end? And even afterwards, what do we do to circle back around and have some repair with our kids?
What would you suggest a parent do to remind themselves to circle back around? Because that can be hard as a parent.
It's so hard.
Especially when they become teens and they're sitting there like, Told you so.
It's really hard, especially because, I might feel really hesitant to take ownership for my part of it because all I can focus on is the disrespect or the attitude that has flared up,
The
right?
eye
And what I
rolling or
yeah,
having attitude.
what I really want is for them to take ownership. But I try in those moments to remember that I'm a role model for that. And by starting with my own self and saying, hey, the way I responded or reacted last night wasn't great. I'm sorry. Yeah, I raised my voice or I yelled, and that's not the best parent I want to be. And what I've noticed is by starting that conversation that way, that can often lead to them saying, Harump, thank you. Me too.
So if you suck it up as a parent and you apologize first, 9 times out of 10, that's giving the kiddo the permission and the cue that to say they messed up too.
Because it's very, I think it can be rare as a parent that how often do you hear parents say like, oh, I could have done this better? So often it's about providing feedback or criticism to the kids. So, such a big thing for a parent to say, I'm going to take accountability for my piece of this. It also doesn't let the child off the hook. There still is space and room in that for them to take accountability for their part, but it sets the tone by the parent going first.
Okay. No, that's important to recognize that just because you are apologizing, it doesn't mean that they don't have to own up and there aren't consequences.
That's right. Yeah, we talked a lot about there are still, there's ripple effects to all of our actions. And when we think about kids, I have a lot of parents that really want to focus on what is the consequence? What can we, and I think a lot of times parents, when they say consequence, they think about what can I take away? And these days, the biggest thing that matters to kids oftentimes is their phone. So it's like, oh, you've done something and now taking away your phone. And, I encourage parents to really think outside of that and expand the definition. There are natural consequences of two people getting into an argument with each other. And one of those can be just, the break in relationship that can happen or, the erosion of trust that can occur between two people. So those can be just as valuable consequences as some of the, just trying to take things away from them.
So talking about the negative and positive consequences that will occur. So when they're adults, they'll have a better understanding then.
Yeah, really looking for natural consequences and highlighting the natural things that are going to happen. Because you're right, as they get older and our role changes with them as a parent, there's less about us having control and more about them learning how and being ready to experience the world. And so I think that's one way we can help them with that is by kind of highlighting some of the natural consequences that they're going to run into.
Yeah, because you get bullies at work, you get people you disagree with and don't see eye to eye with. You can't avoid conflict forever.
That's right. And figuring out how do we work things out with other people and how do I take accountability for my actions while still have boundaries about what I'm willing to expect from others. All of those pieces, they have to start implementing more and more the older they get.
What are some of the big light signals for you when it comes to burnout? Because being overwhelmed is very different from actual burnout when your nervous system's just so fried from parenting and everything else going.
Yeah. I think of burnout as right. I go back to that idea of being isolated and feeling really alone in things
Okay.
and overwhelmed. Maybe big. It feels like big events keep happening, but just my ability to respond is maybe slower. I've run
Okay.
out of ideas and it's harder to bounce back. I think those are the times when that's the time when it can be so helpful to figure out, well, who's in my tribe? Who can I reach out to for additional support, whether that's, professional, looking to somebody for coaching or therapy, or going back to a group of friends, a reliable group of support that can, help remind me about some of these resilience factors.
Okay, so it sounds like just that not being able to rebound back is a big.
Yeah, I think so. Just where life comes at you and it's hard to, it's like all the things that I'm used to doing. It's like, okay, I got enough sleep and it still feels hard.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's
that makes
overwhelming
sense.
still.
Why are we not reaching out to each other more? And I'm just putting this out there in the universe. I don't really have an answer myself, so I don't expect you to. But I think it's an important question to ask because it sounds like things are more difficult, challenges that other generations didn't face. And yet, we as parents seem to be way more isolated than previous groups of parents.
Yeah. I see the isolation happen, especially for families where the kids take an alternate route, right? Like maybe things are so hard that they end up doing an out of home placement, or they're dealing with something very big, like, suicide ideation, which leads to short term placement in a local hospital setting. Those events are really hard to talk about. And I think parents often feel a lot of a shame about it. It's like your kid's dealing with something else that's really big in their life, and they're not part of the homecoming season or going to prom. And so as a parent, you're in a different kind of phase than maybe what some of your other neighbor friends are into. So I think really figuring out who your tribe is, who your group of support can be, and that might shift as your kid goes through different things. The neighborhood group of parents that you grew up with, they might still be there for you. And there might be another group of parents that are dealing with some of the same things that could be a new added group of support.
So being flexible then with still reaching out.
Yeah. Yeah. To your point, it's like overcoming that barrier and reaching out. It can be so scary and so worth it to find somebody else that's like, oh, me too. I know what
Mhm.
that journey is like.
Right. Well, thank you, Miss Leah. So and so tomorrow.
Great talking with you.
You. Now, if someone wants to follow up and talk with you or connect with you, how do they find you?
Yes, I have a website, Leah Madamba Consulting.com. If you're in North Carolina or South Carolina, I'm also on Psychology Today. I have my therapy profile on that website.
That was a much needed conversation. If Leah's words gave you a little breath of relief, go check out her website. And if this episode helped you to reset, please share it with a parent or guardian who could use it as well. Joining Notes to My Nervous System. If this spoke to you, please leave a review and subscribe. Before you go, let's take one small second to notice your body, your feet, your breath, the chair holding you, the ground you're standing on. There's nothing to fix. Just let your nervous system know that it made it through another moment. And if this helped you feel even a little more steady, that matters. And that's what this show is for. And if you want more of these gentle, science based resets between episodes, at night when you can't sleep, when you need to slow your brain down, find my app, Mind Circuit, in the Apple Store or Google Play. It's a quiet place to help your brain come back online when life feels loud. Thank you for being here. Your nervous system deserves care, not pressure. And as always, be kind to your own wiring.